Hey, what's up, Spencer? My name is Everybody, and I love to read. In fact, I love reading so much that I finished in the year of 2024, I kid you not, 325 books. And one of the book series that I read in 2024 was the Uglies series by Scott Westerfeld. This is an 8-book series. Yes, there are 8 books in this series, if you count the companion series, which I do, which follows a girl named Tally Youngblood who lives in a dystopian society where when you turn 16, you get a surgery that makes you perfectly pretty, and then you get to live a very happy, perfect life, partying it up and not really contributing much to society. Now, obviously, because this is a dystopian novel, things aren't that simple for Tally, and she ends up joining a rebel group called the Smoke, where they rebel against this whole pretty surgery because it actually turns out that when you get the pretty surgery, they also do a surgery on your mind, which makes you stupid and happy and not want to rebel against the government. When I was reading this series this past year, and this isn't my first time reading the series, I've read it a couple times. I first started reading it in middle school. I just could not help thinking how good of a television series this would be. There are so many different things about this society that could be explored. There's so many things that are talked about in this book that is just so good and so deep and like has great criticisms against so many different things. And as always, it seemed as though the media gods had heard my cries and decided to make me regret ever asking for an Uglies adaptation. So the Uglies movie came out on Netflix quite a few months ago to not great reviews, which I totally agree with because watching it, I found it to be nothing more than the garbage trash pile tire heap that we see at the beginning of every single Simpsons episode. But what I truly could not forgive Netflix for was the fact that because this movie was so bad, so terrible, that made a lot of people assume that the books must be trash too. And while they're definitely not perfect, Scott Westerfeld really does give a good message, a good critique, a good analysis of so many different aspects of our society, how we interact with it, and a really great, compelling story, honestly. Scott Westerfeld goes over so many really great themes, such as what does it really mean to be beautiful? Is it worth sacrificing the minds of millions of people if that means that we are no longer going to have any violent crime or war anymore? Our massive impact on the world and our environment on the whole as a human race, and also the way that humanity will typically sacrifice a lot of things and other people's well-being just to be able to get whatever we personally want. Scott, baby, I am so sorry that they did this to you. I truly think that one of the big factors onto why this movie flopped so hard is because the people who created this movie decided to make it live action instead of an animated adaptation. With animated, we could have used really specific character designs to create a hard line between the uglies, the pretties, and even the specials, but because we're doing live action instead, that means we're spending the whole entire movie trying to convince the viewer that Joey King is ugly for some reason? Oh, I'm sorry. You're trying to convince me that the girl who is just coming off of the franchise where she is so desirable that multiple boys want to get with her is ugly? Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Honestly, I wonder how pitching this movie to Joey went, because how are you supposed to get somebody to want to play a character who's supposed to be considered so ugly that the entire government is trying to track her down just to give her plastic surgery? Hey, Joey, great job with the kissing booth. People have really loved the series. You have done such an incredible job with it, and you've really developed into an icon over the past few years. Incredible work. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, so I actually have your next role here, and it's going to be a really great project, and I really think that after this, people are going to be dying to get you into lots of big movies. Oh, well, that sounds great. Let me hear about it. Well, this is your typical dystopian story. You know, there's the overreaching government who's trying to control everybody's lives. You, obviously, are going to play the heroine, Tally Youngblood, who is fighting against the injustice that the government is forcing on everyone. Oh, wow, that actually sounds pretty interesting. What type of injustice are they doing? Well, they're giving everybody a surgery to make them beautiful, but not you. You want to keep your normal, busted, ugly, acne-ridden, uneven, buck-toothed, giant-nosed, ugly, disgusting, frizzy-haired face that makes you you. Doesn't that sound great? Yeah, that sounds awesome. Oh man, I can see it now. Your name in lights? You're gonna be walking down the red carpet with Brad Pitt in no time. So let's get into the actual plot of this movie. It starts out with a massive info dump, which is a great decision. Who doesn't love 10 minutes of info dumping right at the beginning of a movie? Like my writing teachers always said, tell, don't show. And they actually do a really bad job at the info dumping. The scriptwriters decided to jump over a pretty important historical aspect in this story just to talk about some dumbass white flowers that really have very little impact on the plot. So instead of going with their info dump, I'm going to be doing more proper info dumping. So about 300 years ago, the Rusties, which is us, modern day us is the Rusties, were very, based on oil. Everything that we did runs on fossil fuels, right? And at one point, scientists, for some reason, developed this bug that ended up getting out, in which it made it so that when oil comes in contact with air, it spontaneously bursts into flames. And then obviously the entire world burned, and for quite a while we were super duper flubbernugged. Over time, people came together and they created these little kind of city-states that our current protagonists live in which everybody stays in this city and never really ventures out into nature anymore because government realized how much of a massive negative effect humanity had on the world. Instead, all of these cities are completely self-efficient, they are very green, and have a very small carbon footprint. And like I said before, they currently have this kind of life cycle where at first you are you live with your parents in the suburbs. When you turn 12, you move into a dorm and go to school, and that is when you are ugly. And when you turn 16, you get a special surgery that makes you pretty, and then you get to join a section of society where all you do is party and have fun all day. Once you get a little bit older, you get another surgery and you turn into a middle, which is when you then get an actual job and start contributing to society. You get married, you have kids, all of that. And then you get another surgery once you're older and become a crumbly or like an old person. All right, that's it. Info dump over. So the movie really starts off with Tally meeting up with her best friend Paris, and they are both sad because tomorrow is Paris's birthday, meaning he's gonna get his pretty surgery and move across the river into Pretty Town, while she's gonna have to stay for the next 3 months waiting for her surgery. And this scene is immediately eye-roll worthy because Tally is saying stuff like, "Oh my god, they call me Squint because of my squinty eyes," meanwhile having like the biggest, beautifulest, most doughy eyes I have ever seen.
Just like I'll always be Squint, even when my eyes fit my face.
Yeah, but I like your eyes. I mean, that's what makes you you.
Movie! Stop trying to convince me that Joey King is ugly. She isn't even a teenager anymore. She's like 25, so she's fully grown out of her awkward teenage phase. You could have at least tried and like given her some acne or a unibrow or buck teeth or something that would make me actually feel like she is ugly instead of her normal plain ass face, which is gorgeous. Like, do you know how many people would absolutely kill to look the way that Joey King looks in her ugly face? So next off, we are at this ceremony in which we are going to be sending Paris off to get pretty, which is a crazy thing because this doesn't happen in the book, because there are hundreds of people living at this dorm. So like, do they have this ceremony every day or practically every day? This is a little bit weird. Anyway, the people who are sitting behind Tally are talking very loudly about the smoke, which is supposed to be a super secret rebel group that nobody knows about.
You saw them, Skinny? They really ran away to the smoke.
Yesterday.
I didn't think they'd do it.
Hey Jessica, did you hear that our friends ran away to join that super secret rebel group that nobody knows about? Yeah, I did! But remember to keep it on the DL! Remember, all of the walls and even the rings that we're currently wearing, listen in onto all of our conversations and report that back to the government! At this point, we get to meet the hollow version of Dr. Cable, who is played by Laverne Cox. I see what you're doing here, movie. Having a trans woman play the head of the department that gives you the surgery that magically transform your body into the thing that you have always dreamed of? I see where you're going with that. In actuality, I don't really think that the casting people thought about the implications of having a trans woman play this character, only because every other decision that they made for this movie is really poor. I'm pretty sure that it's just a coincidence that Laverne Cox is playing this character, but still, they made one good decision for this movie. And I'll give him some sort of credit for that. So a month after Paris gets his surgery, Tally sneaks out to the bridge to Pretty Town because they had made an agreement that this is where they were going to meet up, and Paris was going to tell her all about what it was like being pretty, and she would get to see his pretty face and everything. Except he actually doesn't end up showing up. Boo. Meaning that Tally has to sneak across the bridge into Pretty Town and try and track Paris down. So she puts on a pig mask in order to hide that horrible, ugly, disgusting face that she has, and sneaks on over, and this is when we meet Pretty Paris, and oh my god, we could definitely tell he's way more beautiful now because he dyed his hair blonde and he's wearing foundation. Ooh, wow, what an improvement. Tally is upset because she notices that Paris has gotten rid of the palm scar that they both shared. And Paris is like, yeah, well, I decided that I didn't want it anymore, which is such a downgrade from what happens in the book, because in reality, in the book, what happens is that during the surgery, they completely skin you and give you brand new skin. It's also crazy that this movie tries to make it out to seem like they have a choice in the pretty stuff that happens to them, when in the book, you don't have a choice. A council makes a decision about what they think would be the best, pretty attributes to give you, and you just have to hope that they decide to give you some of the things that you want. So Paris's apartment scans Tally's puke-worthy face, and you know what? It's actually really nice that this apartment building decided to wait until they were done with their conversation before narking on her. Tally grabs a bungee jacket and jumps off of the roof of a building and runs away to the bridge back to Ugly Town, where she runs into a girl named Shay. We then proceed to have the shortest chase scene of all time. I kid you not, this chase scene lasts less than 20 seconds.
Get on or we'll both get caught.
So Tally and Shay then become friends. Shay teaches Tally how to ride a hoverboard. They're hanging out, they're having fun. And then we get this scene where Shay runs into some friends who, in the middle of the quad, surrounded by dozens of kids, and in front of this girl that they have never met before, proceeds to pull out extremely contraband material.
Yeah. Hey, hey.
It was incredible. Is this really what the smoke is like?
Is that a book?
It is wild to me that these random teenagers happen to have a paper book, because in the original story, All of the paper books and magazines and material that the smoke had were kept in a very special library and were only accessed by a librarian because they are so old and rare and could be easily damaged. And they're also super illegal in the city, but here, we're just slinging that shit around like it's a pack of gum. So the day before Tally and Shay's birthday, because they end up having the same birthday, Shay decides to take Tally out of the city to a place called the Rusty Ruins, which is just a couple of miles outside of their city. This is where Shay reveals to Tally that she's actually running away from the city because she does not want to get the pretty surgery and she wants Tally to come with her. And Tally is like, a place where I would be judged on who I am as a person instead of what I look like? No. It would be way easier to get a super invasive surgery to make my face perfectly symmetrical instead of examining who I am as a person and make sure that I am just kind and respectful all the time. But Shay still really wants Tally to come with her, and so she gives Tally a piece of paper with an encoded message that would give Tally directions to the smoke if she decides to change her mind and come with, and then Shay proceeds to just fuck off. The next day, Tally is supposed to be getting her pretty surgery, but instead of getting her surgery, she is brought to Dr. Cable, who says, Shay ran away, and we know that you know where she is. You better help us track her down, or else I'll make sure that you're fugly for life. And at first, Tally is trying to be a good friend, says that she has no idea what's going on, but after getting a surprise visit from Paris, she's like, oh my god, everybody is right. Nothing could be worse than living with the face that I currently have. Fine, I'll help you track down the rebel encampment. So Tally follows Shay's instructions through various obstacles in the wilderness until she finally comes across a clearing filled with white flowers where she then proceeds to lay down and fall asleep. We then cut to a scene where Dr. Cable and Paris are having a sit-down conversation where Dr. Cable thanks Paris for helping trick Tally into tracking down the rebel encampment and then proceeds to give him a surgery that turns him into a special. Now, a special is different than a pretty because there are very few of them and they are given enhancements in their body that make it so that they can hunt down and work for the government and make it so that nobody ever opposes them and their regime. And this scene is absolutely wild because this does not happen in the book. Yes, Paris does show up and talk to Tally, and they have a conversation that eventually leads to her deciding that she should go after Shay. And if you are smart enough, you can infer that Dr. Cable probably got him to go and do this conversation, but it's never confirmed in the book. And also, Paris is never turned into a special. He just stays a pretty throughout the series and is Tally's regular friend for the next few books. Back with Tally, she wakes up to find that the entire field is on fire and she has to be saved by this boy named David, who's actually the leader of the rebel encampment. Boo! In the regular books, Tally saves herself through a series of really cool stunts. David then takes Tally to a smoke outpost where Tally meets up with Shay, and David talks about how since Tally made it here all by herself, that must mean that she's capital S special. We then get another scene that did not happen in the book, in which everybody jumps into a helicopter so that they could set all of these white flowers on fire because they're parasitic, and I know that that's not the right word to describe plants, but I don't know what the plant version of parasitic is. But Shay falls out of the helicopter into the flames, and Tally has to also jump out in order to save her. And while we are saving Shay from the flames, some specials show up, and honestly, they really give off Twilight vampire vibes.
David, look down! Where are those scouts? They're running into the flames!
Not them adding in a zoom sound effect so that it seems like they're running fast. Oh my god, I can't stand this movie. This decision is so fucking dumb. That night, Tally finds David naked in the river, literally 2 feet away from her fucking tent. Bruh, why are you doing this? Do you want everybody to see your walnuts? And then the next day, David finally brings Shay and Tally and everybody to the actual smoke. Something that is really lacking from this movie is being able to know Tally's current thoughts and feelings. In the book, take a drink every time I say in the book. In the book, we are able to really see how the city's propaganda has brainwashed Tally's mind. Because when she meets David, she's constantly focusing on how his teeth are uneven, how one eye is slightly bigger than the other, how his nose is too big, like all of these little things. But here, I mean, he's kind of just some guy. And in many ways, he's a really handsome guy. And also, when we get to the smoke, we are able to see how Tally is absolutely horrified by the things that the smoke is doing, because they're cutting down trees for firewood, they're killing animals in order to make clothes and have food, they're clearing some of the forest in order to make more room for the new people that are joining them. And this is all stuff that Tally has been taught is bad, because that stuff has led to the environmental damage and impact that we have done that almost ended up destroying the world. Here, we get absolutely none of that, which makes Tally as a character and also the world just feel so flat. So now Tally spends some time at the smoke, working, getting to know David, doing all sorts of stuff, and at one point she gets blisters on her hands from all of the new work that she's doing, and so David decides to give her a pair of gloves. When Shay sees this, she absolutely freaks out. She's like, oh my god, people don't just give things here. I mean, they aren't like gloves that came out of the wall. He made those. He owned those. Like, when you do things, you're supposed to trade for them. Like, the fact that he gave those to you means something. And this whole entire rant makes absolutely no sense, because when Tally first showed up at the smoke, a person who she has never known, never met before, literally just walks by and hands her a sleeping bag and then leaves, and we never see this person ever again. So, like, these things completely contradict each other. What the fuck are you talking about?
Stay warm.
Thank you.
Originally in the book, drink, the reason why Shay gets mad over Tally getting these gloves is because Shay and David were together before. And then Tally comes along and steals David from Shay. But here, there is no romance between Shay and David, which removes conflict from the story and between their characters. So this just makes her whole freak out just seem like kind of out of place and weird. At this point in the movie, David reveals to Tally that he actually has never lived in a city. He was born out here in the wild. Can you fucking believe that? Oh my god. And then he takes Tally to meet his parents. And David's parents reveal that they actually used to be surgeons/doctors in the city until they learned that when the pretty surgery is done, they not only do surgery on your entire body, but they do surgery on your mind. They put in these micro lesions that make it so that you're kind of dumb, you're always happy, the only thing that you really care about is partying and having fun, and you're basically kind of incapable of like rebelling against the government. And this is why they originally left the city and started the smoke, so that they could develop a cure for this. But seeing as everybody who is in the smoke is ugly, they don't really have anybody to be able to test their cure on. So they have this theoretical cure, but they're not really sure if it actually works. In response to learning about the whole mindfuck thing, Tally takes the necklace that Dr. Cable gave her, and this necklace was supposed to be a tracking device that she was supposed to activate when she got to the smoke, but obviously she's been conflicted about whether she was actually going to do that, and now that she's learned this, she decides to rip off her necklace and throw it into the fire. The next morning, the camp is swarmed with specials because it turns out that the tracking necklace that Tally burned was specially made so that if anybody tried to destroy it, it would send out a signal locating, where it is. And this is where we see Special Paris, and we can tell that he's special because he's wearing eyeliner now. Woo! God, this movie is so dumb because, in the books, they had done, all of this research to be able to specially find out, what is, the most attractive looking in order to make people's faces the most attractive looking. But for specials, they had also done all of this research to tap into what was the most terrifying in order to make it so that when you see a special, you are automatically afraid and you don't want to fight against them because just looking at them makes you so scared. But wearing eyeliner is not terrifying, so. And honestly, what the fuck are these suits that the specials are wearing? They're terrible. They look like the costume designers just ordered them off of Temu. And these are supposed to be sneak suits, meaning that they're supposed to help the specials blend in with their environment. So why the fuck are they glowing? They also have two random guys who are shirtless but covered in tattoo. I don't know what the fuck is going on with those two, but yeah, those guys are also here. We never see them again after this, but they're present for some reason. So Paris ganks David's dad, and Dr. Cable is like, Tally, thank you so much for leading us here, because now I can make it so that everybody will get their surgery. And of course, everyone hears this and they feel betrayed by what Tally has done. And Tally is like, oh my god, I knew that Dr. Cable was gonna capture you guys, but I didn't think it would go like this where she captures you guys. Tally and David are able to get away from the specials, and even though David obviously hates Tally now because of her betrayal, they decide to work together to try and save everybody from the horrific Dr. Cable. So they sneak into the special headquarters while every guard happens to be looking the wrong way, and then David manages to somehow beat up a special. Even though they're given enhanced senses and strength and increased cognitive thought power and stuff. The power of being a YA dystopian protagonist, I guess. Except that the guy who's playing David is literally 32, so the power of being a grown man pretending to be a teenager. Why is Hollywood so allergic to casting people who are the same age as the people they're playing on screen? Fucking wild to me that this man is older than me. I cannot believe this. Anyway, Tally and Shay release all of the rebels, except they find out that Shay has already been taken to surgery, so they run down the hall to find her, and y'all, the scream that I scrumped the first time I saw Pretty Shay.
Tally.
Oh my god, what is this fucking wig? Dr. Cable and Paris show up and force Tally, David, and David's mom into these surgery chambers, except then a rebel appears and starts setting everything on fire, which somehow breaks all of the surgery chamber's glass, but leaves everybody inside completely unharmed. Everybody runs upstairs to the roof where Paris is waiting for them somehow, even though he was just downstairs 5 minutes ago and didn't pass them on the stairs, but whatever. And then David and Paris get into a fight. Oh my god, I cannot deal with these dumbass fucking sound effects that they put over Paris's movements to try and make him seem strong or something. God, this is so dumb. And then Paris proceeds to just fall off the roof and die, I guess?
Nose.
Squint.
Wild. Like I said before, this doesn't fucking happen in the books. Paris is just a normal fucking guy in these books. And now he's dead? What? My theory is that Paris isn't actually supposed to be dead. You know, he fell into this river. We didn't see a body. So the twist is supposed to be that he's gonna magically show up at some point in the next movie. Except I highly doubt that they're gonna be making a next movie because the reviews for this one is such fucking shit. So everybody escapes from the city, they make it to the rusty ruins, and David's mom was actually able to get her cure from Dr. Cable's lab, except unfortunately they are not able to use it on Shay because Shay's pretty bubble brain makes it so that she likes being pretty now, and David's mom believes in consent. Ugh, can you believe it? A doctor with ethics? What is this world come to? So to make up for all of her mistakes, for her betraying the smoke, Tally decides, okay, I'm going to consent like right here, right now, and then let myself get captured and turned into a pretty. And then a little ways down the line, you guys can come and get me and make me take the pretty cure.
I'm Tally Youngblood! Make me pretty!
God, I hate this. This line actually like slaps in the book because it's the last line in the book. But here, because the movie's so dumb, it just comes off as being so fucking corny. And like, I can't do it. Guys, I can't fucking do this. I had to watch this movie twice to make this, 3 times if we're gonna count what I have to do for editing later. And just like, I can't believe that I made myself go through this 3 times. Why did they have to ruin my favorite series? This isn't my favorite series. Why did they have to ruin a series that I very liked? So obviously Tally gets captured, and in the last scene, we get to see pretty Tally, because I think that they knew that they weren't going to get another one, so this was the only chance they had to show us, and that's it. That was Uglies. Honestly, I don't know what to do with myself. The books were actually good. How did they manage to make such a trash pile when they had like actual like good source material to work from? They could have done so much cool shit with this, but every decision they made for this movie was so dumb. I know that this movie is probably like a really big turnoff and you're probably not interested in the book at all, but please, I do encourage you to try and give it a chance. It's actually really well written. The plot is so good. Scott Westerfield makes like such a lot of great points, not just about like beauty standards, but about like so many other different things. He opens up that book by talking about how like the sunset looks like cat puke. Like it's just, the words are just so much better than these visuals that we were just forced to experience. They're not the best thing ever. Like I'm not gonna say that these are like perfect novels or anything like that, but they are leagues better than the shit that we just saw. Yeah, that's kind of everything that I have for this. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, but besides that, make sure that you stay safe and have a fantastic day. Bye.